Welcome to the Bruins Benders podcast, season 2, episode 43, Prospect Talk with guests Robert Chalmers and Maddie and Smitty, brought to you on the Inside the Rink podcast network. InsideTheRink.com is your one-stop shop for all your NHL and ECHL news, insight, and analysis. Follow on Twitter at inside_the_rink and download the Inside the Rink app. Subscribe to Inside the Rink's YouTube page to watch our episodes on there, and Smitty will tell you how to sign up for ESPN Plus.
Yeah, you can sign up for ESPN Plus by going to the Inside the Rink website. Go to insidetherink.com/ESPN and sign up today. I have ESPN Plus, and I love all the Major League Baseball, soccer, college sports, UFC, and much, much more. So sign up for ESPN Plus at insidetherink.com/ESPN.
And our special guest on this week's podcast is Robert Chalmers, who covers Bruins prospects in depth at cohenshockey.org and recently ranked the top 25 prospects in the organization. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. And we're going to get right to it. Number one question here is development camp wrapped up last week. What were your overall impressions of the talent level there?
Well, so, the Bruins prospect pool's not at the top of the top, so you're not going to expect a ton of talent there, but you are expecting a good amount. So some guys I liked there were Matthew Poitras, Mason Lohrei killed it. He was the number one standout. You couldn't miss him. Many plays he was doing around on battle drills, you couldn't miss him. These skating drills he was really impressive too. There was a lot of guys there during the skating drills that were not so good, and some guys that were a lot better than we expected. So overall development camp was really good. It was really fun to watch all those prospects get into it. Some of them weren't there that are on the list, and a lot of them were. So some of them are a bit older, so that's why they weren't there and have been to it before, and that's what it is.
Yeah, so can defenseman Mason Lohrei, who you mentioned being one of the standouts, can he earn a spot with the Bruins out of training camp?
It's a tough question. It's tough because he's gonna push. There's no doubt about it. The thing is will there be a spot for him there? The thing is there's quite a few guys there already. Will he push for it? Yes. The thing is will he get the spot? I don't know. He does need some AHL seasoning for sure, in my opinion. But I think he's also NHL ready at the same time. So it's hard to do because it's hard to explain, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. If he, one of the things that was difficult for him in Providence was the pace that when it came to speed. He likes to play a little slower. If you watch him, he kind of he holds the puck a little bit, and then when a forward comes at him or a defenseman comes at him, he'll kind of do this slowed angle move. So I think that's the thing he needs to adjust with is pace. He only put up 1 point, but I really liked what I saw from him, especially in the Hartford series. He was really good in that series. Didn't put up any points, but he was starting breakouts left and right. He was really good on defense. He was blocking shots. It's everything you want to see out of a defenseman like him. And I wasn't a huge fan of who they paired him with, really. They put him with Josiah Didier. No offense to him, he's a great pro, but it was definitely a slower start from down there. So, no offense to Didier, but I would have liked to see him with Connor Carrick or even a left on left pairing with Jack Ashan. They were really good together on a few shifts down there.
Fabian Lysell was sort of in and out at the camp because he had the concussion issues and. He took some time off and then came back. Are there any red flags after the concussion or the fact that he even mentioned burnout at the end of last season, his first pro season? Is this guy still on track to be a top 6 legitimate forward in the league?
And this is why I bumped him down to number 2. This is probably the reason I bumped him to number 2. He's a great kid. Well, one of the things he said in the WHL of Vancouver, which kind of caught my eye, which you do and don't like to hear, is when the season ended, he was like, I'm kind of glad it's over. It was so long and whatever. But so I wasn't really thrilled with that answer, but he said that again, really, he got knocked out by Clendenning. That was a gross hit. I remember watching it live. And the injuries, he was sick a few times this past year. He was injured he got another injury at the beginning of the year, but he recovered fine from that. And then after the World Juniors, he had a little bit of a block, but I have a lot of confidence in him. The way he handles the puck, the way I think he needs to improve his shot pretty well. I think as he mentioned, the training for this off season is going to be a bit slower because of the concussion, I think. But I have no idea if that's the case. If that is, then he's probably going to be in the AHL another season. But who knows? There are some openings on the right side. They tried him a bit at center in Vancouver. It just didn't work. They didn't. I don't think they liked it. So he's better off on the wing, left or right side. I prefer the right. But when it comes to him, he's very quick. He makes a lot of dangles. He loves to challenge opponents. I'd like to see him make more slot passes. That's my thing. I love slot passes. They're my thing. That's one of the reasons why they drafted Beckett Hendrickson, who we might get into later. Who knows? But if he improves his passing a bit and if he improves his shot, we can have a real asset there.
Well, that's hopefully will be good to see for the Bruins. Another guy who's a really good passer, and we heard reports that he was pretty good during the development camp, was Matthew Poitras. And is it an overaction, or is Poitras closer to being a pro than we think, maybe?
So because of the transfer agreement, his two options are Boston or Guelph next season. So he can't go to the AHL. That's not an option. So if he has an unbelievable camp, they could consider him. That's like a 2% chance. That's probably not going to happen. And I think what they're going to want, as I think Langenbrunner said this, not NATO. He said, if we want him as a center, which he is a center, and I think he'll be a center in the National Hockey League, is he needs to. They want him to be really solid defensively, and I think he was very solid defensively last year for Guelph. The thing is next year, if his scoring goes down in Guelph if he gets sent back to Guelph, which will likely happen. He's probably his scoring could go down, and they were going to want him in more of a defensive role. And I won't bump him down the list if his scoring is really if it's really down. Okay, something might have to get bumped down, but if it's just down by just a little, I'm not going to be. I won't be surprised. I think he's wants to work on defense a bit, which I think was really solid. He turned so much defense into offense last year for Guelph when they traded away Sasha Pasajov and Danny Zhilkin. I got concerned because those were their two top other players on Guelph, and clearly he didn't care because he put up way over a point per game once they were traded out. Because I thought he was going to get traded too. There was a report by someone that they're blowing it up in Guelph. I'm glad that they didn't trade him. He went absolutely berserk. You combined playoffs and regular season, he had 100 points.
He had 79 assists. So, I mean, if it does drop off some, that 79 is a big, lofty goal. That's a lot of assists. I mean, that's a really good playmaker. And Lord knows that the Bruins need a playmaking center.
That's what he is.
Right. And I think that Krejci has been, but when Krejci was gone, that's something they really lacked with Bergeron and Coyle, is that Bergeron, as great as he is, I wouldn't exactly, term him a playmaking center. So I think someone like Poitras is someone that they're definitely going to need. Now, the Bruins added Morgan Geekie, Jesper Boyquist as potential centers. But if Bergeron retires, can Georgi Merculov take the second line center spot?
So my issue with Merculov at center is face-offs. He's not very good at the dot. He's like I think it's like 45, 48% last year in the AHL. I don't know what it was at Ohio State. But if you need him to fill that role, then that's fine. There's nothing really left besides the face-offs. He improved his defense. He was unbelievable offensively. That 55 points in 68 games as a rookie in the AHL is very difficult. That's hard to do. Even if he's at 22 from the NCAA, that's not easy to do. So when it comes to him, they can play him anywhere in the forward position. So if he can step in, I think he can. Will he make it out of camp? I have no idea. It's going to be up to the coaching staff and Sweeney and whoever. But he doesn't have much left to prove in the AHL, in my opinion. That's a quote from Bruins Network. Anthony, he's what he says too. We've talked about him. It's nothing really much for him to prove in the AHL. He has a ridiculous shot. He needs to be used more. My thing too is I think these guys need to shoot more and then pass more. It's my thing, what I like to say. But Merculov, he started to use it more when Lettieri got hurt. They put him on the right wing for the one-timer, and he scored so many times. It was just unbelievable to see him do it. They used it so much on the power play. You won't see him on the penalty kill. He's not going to be that type of player. He's just going to be He's very slow with it. He'll skate if he needs to, try and back check, but it's not. His defense isn't amazing, but he improved on it, I think, last season.
Well, it's good to hear. But after the top four, so after Lowry, Lysell, Poitras, and who am I forgetting? Merculov.
Yeah.
There's Beecher, Harrison, Brandon Bussey. Does anyone stand out that has made strides or could be a factor sooner rather than later? Like, is there a next group there that can maybe be a factor?
If someone like, you actually didn't mention him, if Luke Toporowski makes a big jump next season, you're going to probably see him get a call up, which is a lot of people might not agree with me there, but he led the Providence Bruins in goals per 60 minutes. So that was, and that's doing it as a rookie. He came right out of the WHL and just immediately shot up. He had like 29 points in 40 something games. I think he's a candidate in the top, and he's not going to be a fourth line guy in my opinion, because he's doing this at like 20. He did that at like 20 and 21 last season, maybe 22. But I like him a lot. Beecher's going to be a great penalty killer. He's very fast. He has some puck handling issues, and his shot's not great, but he will shoot it here and there. Like he had a Beecher in Michigan. He had like 7 breakaways in like 3 games or something like that, and he didn't hit on any of them. So there's a concern there.
And he tied his hands.
So he's a new Thomas Nosek. Great.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, and he could. I mean, I think there's a possibility he could fill his role. They're running out of time with Beecher. He's a first rounder. They're gonna want to see him in the show soon.
Right.
So, but when it comes to his development, one thing they did last season with him is they played him on the wing a lot, and I didn't like him on the wing. I liked him at center because he wins so many faceoffs. But as you mentioned, Thomas Nosek. Nosek's not extremely fast. Beecher will fly by everyone. I remember in the preseason he went 200 feet for an empty net goal, and it made everyone look silly. So I'm not sure if he'll make it out of camp, to be honest. If he's going to have to push again, which I think he pushed pretty hard last season in the preseason and at camp. So it's 50-50 for him and me, what I would say for Beecher.
The thing about the Bruins is they loved Thomas Nosek because of his penalty killing. He was disciplined in his own end and all that stuff. So I think if they like that type of player, I think they'll give Beecher every shot to do it, especially as like a fourth line center. And if he has that kind of speed, which is a hell of a lot more than Nosek ever had, and if he can win faceoffs and kill penalties, then I say that's a great low cost option, even if he only scores 6 or 8 goals. I mean, Nosek didn't do much better. So I think if they liked him, I think that Beecher could be a better version of Nosek if he can skate.
Yeah, the issue with Beecher is the question with him is in the NHL is the scoring. I think he did fine in the AHL last year. It wasn't through the roof, but he was like a middle 6 guy in the AHL last year. But the AHL, really, the top 3 lines, the time on ice is really the same. So it's not really not much you can see there. But when it comes to him, they could have him fill that role. We have no idea. He's going to push hard because he said last season he wanted to make the team, and he didn't. But that's okay. So he developed in the AHL, which I thought he did fine with, especially on the penalty kill. So he's going to push.
You mentioned the Bruins near or at the bottom in the prospect rankings. Where is a realistic ranking? Because I know you rate them a little higher. What's a realistic ranking for the Bruins now, you think?
Yeah, I get this question here and there. If I had to, it would be like probably mid-20s. I feel like there's a lot of guys that I think a lot of people like to use this thing called NHLE. It just kind of values just points, doesn't value any defense, doesn't value what they do, playmaking, block shots. It just values points. That's it. And that's what a lot of analytics guys use. And I love analytics. As I said Toporowski goals per 60, but when it comes to that type of analytic, I'm not a huge fan of it. So I'd say like it varies here and there. Like with Lysell going to number 2 for me, not a ton of people know Mason Lohrei's name because coming into the draft, when they drafted, no one knew him. So the higher value of these prospects than the points they put up, unfortunately, what people look at now, a lot of the time, the higher the list will be, their prospect ranking will be throughout the NHL.
I thought that was you next, Matt.
How would you grade the Bruins draft? Anyone you liked in there? You mentioned
Beckett Hendrickson. I really liked him. He's going to be another. He's bigger. I think the Bruins they're going to want him as a center, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't think he took many faceoffs. I can look if you want, but he was more on the wing, I believe. Could be wrong on that. But at the NTDP, he was used heavily on the penalty kill. He's a bigger guy. He loves to make slot passes. He loves to make high danger passes to set up plays. He's huge on that. There's a graphic out there that says like his slot passes are the top in like the USHL or something like that. It's crazy where he likes to pass the puck. I think he has an underrated shot as well. He has this little toe drag move he had one time that I think was pretty cool. But someone else in the draft I liked that they took who was passed on twice. I actually wrote once in the blog. I meant to write twice. It was Ryan Walsh. He's going to Cornell this season. The question with him is they feel like his offense will translate, but the skating might not, that's concerning in a way. If his skating starts to get pushed around a lot in the NCAA, he's not going to put up the points. He's going to get down on himself. He's not going to. It won't go well. And then obviously, but I think he'll be a good player for Cornell. Cornell's actually produced. They had a few NCAA free agents last season, I believe. So obviously, one of them you might have heard of was Chris Pelosi. I had no idea about this kid going into the draft.
Right.
He was played in both the NAHL, the NAHL they call it, and the USHL. So he doesn't have a ton of assists, which was interesting. But there's one play. It was a play he likes to do. I tweeted it once or twice, where he does this pass along the boards. It's a dish, and it like kind of fools the defenders when he comes up the ice on the rush, and then it usually turns into a 2-on-1. He loves to make that play. He did it actually at development camp, which was so interesting. So I'm not really sure what to make of him. It is similar to the Lorai pick because he was ranked 7th round or something crazy like that. So was Pelosi. And we're just going to have to wait and see. He's going to play big minutes next year for Sioux Falls with Beckett Hendrickson, actually. They're going to be on the same team next season in the USHL. So that'll be a team to watch if you want to watch prospects. They'll probably both be in their top 6.
What I don't get is, why at 92? Like, I mean, if you really like the guy who is ranked like 267 Central Scouting, like if you really like him, take him at 124 or 188. But why that high? It's just kind of
I really don't know. Yeah. So the same thing happened with Lorai, as I said in 2020. Right. He was ranked so low, and now he's like their top prospect. So it turned out well. So if they see something there, that means they've been scouting him for a while. Even maybe in the NAHL, I have no clue how much they've been scouting him, but they really see something in him. I'm not sure what it is. His skating is not bad. He's got a good shot. But I don't know. Obviously, he had like 6 assists, and that was it. So the playmaking needs to improve here and there. I haven't really looked into his analytics that much for like slot passes and defense and all that. So I still have to work on that. But I still don't really know what to pick. We'll know more next season if he'll jump up in the rankings or go down.
Right. Sure. Well, Robert, we really appreciate you hanging with us and giving this like great insight on the prospects. The Bruins fans love the prospect talk, and so do we. So we appreciate you being on the pod. Yeah, we appreciate you being on the pod. And you can follow Robert at Ivan on Twitter, and he does some really great prospect stuff and information. And we appreciate you having you on there, Robert.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
All right.
Sure. All right. Thank you, my friend.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so that's interesting to hear some of the insight because Robert was there. He's been following these guys, watching tons of video, and he really gets into the prospects. And to hear some of the talk about certain guys and their weaknesses and why they kind of slip down or slide up. The guy that he mentioned, Toporowski, that's the guy. And I did a quick top 10, and I didn't put him there because he's undrafted, and it's just he's kind of undersized, and I just don't know what to make of him. He had 15 goals in Providence, and he mentioned the goals per 60 minutes, but I just don't know what to make of the guy because I don't know if he's a late bloomer type or if he's just going to be one of those 4A guys. It's kind of
he had a really good camp for them last year. I remember, in preseason with the Bruins and in camp, and scored some goals in camp, and then went down to the AHL and kind of lit it up. I mean, he's got a good shot, and he's a little fast, and he's a little feisty. Yeah. So I kind of like him, and I like the fact that they signed him to the 2-year deal, because before he was kind of on it was either an AHL deal or like some kind of tryout or something. Where he wasn't really Bruins property yet. So I was glad that they locked him up, because I think he can add something. And I agree with Robert. I think, if he starts off hot in the AHL, I don't think he'll make the Bruins out of camp. But if he starts off hot there out of camp and in the AHL, he'll get a call up at some point to the Bruins, I think.
Yeah, I think he will too, and especially with some indecision in the bottom 6 and so forth, and we'll see what happens there. But he's been climbing in the charts after being undrafted, and we'll see what he brings. He's kind of a little bit of an X factor, I guess, coming into the season. All right, 7 Chirps are sponsored by Lops Brewing, Lobster Brewing and Tasting Room in downtown Woonsocket, Rhode Island, specializing in small batch ales and lagers. It's open 7 days a week. Use the coupon code SPORTS to get 10% off your online order. Go to lopsbrewing.com. Follow them at Lops Brewing for new beers and events. Chirp number 1, Fabian Lysell felt burnt out during his first pro season, then suffered a concussion. And you heard Robert talk about how Lysell was happy that the Vancouver season was over that year. Any cause for concern here with, I guess, Fabian Lysell's, kind of burnout capabilities?
Yes, I think there is cause for concern. I think because of, you kind of want guys that want to play and want to get better. And does he have the drive necessary to make it to the NHL? And obviously the concussions are an issue, because if that continues, that could derail, his progress and progression at any point, just because of, multiple concussions. That's something you have to worry about. Because it could shorten your career or end your career at some point. Look at Rick Nash. He was here with the Bruins for a short time, got a couple of concussions and decided to hang it up. Andre Kasha was with the Bruins too, and had the concussion problems, and they ended up shipping him out. So that alone could derail you. Never mind you not necessarily being wanting to play all the time. I understand if you go from you go right from the WHL to Providence and you're just playing hockey year round and you need a break. I get that. But if that kind of, you don't really have the drive and the want to improve and get better and make it to the NHL, you certainly aren't going to get there. So that is a concern to me going forward.
Yeah, and you've seen, you live in Foxborough, you've seen it. You see the guys who play the men's league, like Brian Boyles of the world, like they go play men's league in Foxborough because they just love to play hockey. They can't stop playing hockey. Like they play in some rinky-dink rink. Like they're $1 million players, and they're in there playing an adult hockey league. Like the thing about Lysell, and I also saw on Twitter that someone who was there said, Lysell gave you the feeling at development camp sometimes like he was a little bit better than that. Like he was a little just kind of going out there and kind of irritated that he was there kind of thing, like in some of his body language and so forth. But look, I mean, he's talented. And if you're talented enough, then you'll get, of course, he's going to get every opportunity as a first rounder. They need to hit on this guy. But again, if he doesn't work out and if these types of issues are real, then you have to think about what are we doing as far as background checks with these guys and getting into the real nuts and bolts of it. Do you have the heart do you have the desire to be an NHL hockey player? Do you want to do it for 15 years? Like, is this what you do? So, hopefully Lysell, first of all, avoids the concussion syndrome and that isn't a recurring issue. But other than that, like sort of the drive, like you said. So hopefully that comes to be. Chart number 2, should the Bruins have tried to sign Philippe Zadina He signs a 1-year, $1.1 million deal with San Jose. He's a former 6th overall pick, still only 23 years old, and he ends up with San Jose.
Yeah, I mean, they probably should have. I mean, maybe they did try in the background and we just didn't hear anything about it. I'm sure part of it is opportunity. San Jose, not a great team, can offer him a lot more opportunity than the Bruins could. So that probably has something to do with it. But, I hope the Bruins tried to sign him. I mean, like we've talked about before, they don't have a ton of draft picks coming up. Their organizational depth prospect pool is not great. So they do need to kind of think outside the box, sign some of these guys, maybe that might be a reclamation project from another team, or your undrafted free agents like Toporowski and, other guys. So, hopefully they tried to sign him and I guess he ends up with San Jose and hopefully the Bruins aren't looking back and saying, geez, we could have had him.
I mean, I would imagine they probably kicked the tires on it. I would think you would, as you said, like the Bruins are in a position where you kind of have to do your due diligence with all these guys, especially college free agents, McLaughlin and Bussey and mid-20s guys like Geeky and Boquist. And you're right. You have to hit on some of these guys because you don't have any draft picks. Like you don't have, you have very few to none, especially high picks coming down the pipeline. So you have to sort of, replenish a prospect pool with guys probably 22, 23, 24 years old. Like you gotta kind of take a swing at, guys like this 6th overall pick, didn't pan out somewhere. Pavel Zacha is a good, example of that. 25 years old, high draft pick, really didn't, reach his potential early on, but maybe again, he matures and he's been good for them. And that was a great pickup. It was great forecasting by them to go ahead and get him. So they have to do it with just about anybody who comes available. Chirp 3, Bruins are releasing their 100th Centennial all-time team. Who's on your all-time Bruins team?
All right. So I've gone through and looked at it, and our teams are very, very similar. I think our line shakeups are just a little slightly different. Okay. And then a few ones I threw in just because they're newer guys and the fans now would probably know who they are a little bit more. So,
right.
I'm going Busick, Esposito, Neely on my first line.
Okay.
I'm keeping Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak together for line 2. So they're the perfection line.
Okay.
Stay together. I'm going Wayne Cashman, David Krejci, and Nifty, Rick Middleton.
Okay.
Line 3. Line 4, Ken Hodge, Milt Schmidt, Terry O'Reilly.
Okay.
Good line right there for a 4th line. Kidding me?
Good line. Jesus.
Or Bork, Oren Bork, Chara, and McAvoy. I'm going to throw Chara.
We're going to throw McAvoy in. Okay.
Yep. So McAvoy and Chara together again. And then Eddie Shore and Dick Clapper. Mm-hmm. From the good old days.
2 retired numbers.
Tuca. And I'm going with Jerry Cheevers as Tuca's back.
You're going with Cheevers. Okay. Yeah. So I went Busick, Espo, Middleton, the top line. Yeah. Then I went Marchand, Bergeron, Neely.
Okay.
Which Neely, that's a line to be reckoned with.
Sure.
Then I went Cashman, Oates, and Pasternak. I gave Oates the nod over Krejci. And I went back and forth on this a million times. And Oates only played with him 5 years.
He did.
But man, were they 5 friggin' good years?
Yeah, he had that season. He had in what was it, 88, 89 or something?
Yeah, and 39 goals when. There was a year that Neely wasn't there that much.
Yeah, he had 142 points that year.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable season. He had 2 over 100-point seasons in a row for the Bruins there.
Right.
And was
when you talk about Gretzky, of course, the number one playmaker ever is Gretzky.
Sure.
And then you have Lemieux. But Oates is up there as far as playmaking centers that ever play the game.
Yeah, just
amazing.
If you talk about just pure passing, it's got to be there. I mean,
Jesus.
He fed Neely. He fed Brett Hull for a long time.
Oh my God,
Brett Hull had, 700 goals or something. 600 goals, whatever it is. So, and a lot of those are assists from Oates. So the guy knows how to pass and knows how to get people open and score goals. So, not a bad thing.
Play with Yzerman early on. He was a Red Wing early on too. I mean, Jesus. But he just was fantastic passer. So I had Cashman, Oates, and Pasternak there, and then I had Hodge, Schmidt, and O'Reilly like you did on the fourth line. I had Oren Bork. I had Dallas Smith and Chara. Dallas Smith played a long time with him. It was like a plus, 5,000. Like he was like a ridiculous plus minus on a really, obviously on a team stacked of Hall of Famers. And then Shore and Clapper like you did. And I had Rask and Tiny Thompson. I looked at Cheever's numbers because someone brought it up on Twitter that he was overrated. And I looked at his numbers, and his numbers do kind of give the illusion that he's probably a little overrated.
He is.
They aren't like astoundingly good, but Jesus, I mean, he won cups, and he's up there too. So, and I don't know Tiny Thompson from a hole in the head. I just know that he, was really good.
So that's why I put Cheevers on, because he won the cups and he was part of that, big bad Bruins team of the 70s. Right. I looked at the numbers too, and if you didn't have Tiny Thompson already, I would have put him on my list. So I mean, I would have picked him because I think he is the second best goalie in Bruins history after Rask.
Yeah.
But Cheevers had the cup, so and I just wanted. I mean, our lists are almost identical, so I wanted to have a little variation there. So I took Cheevers because otherwise we would have both had Thompson. So.
Right. You know what? I did a quick look at like honorable mention type guys, and it was like Glenn Murray had like big points for them. He was here twice for them. Yeah. Jason Allison was a point per game player.
He did
for them. Point per game player.
A guy like Barry Peterson. Joe Juno.
Billy Guerin. Billy Guerin had two good, really good years with them.
Yeah, I mean Brad Park. You could put in. Defensively. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, there were guys like Joseph Stumple who had much more points than I thought he ever had.
Yeah,
he had some good years for them too. I mean, there's been some guys who put together, but Jason Allison stuck out to me as a guy that was legitimately a point per game player for them, and I remember him being good on a team that was, they had a couple teams there in the late '90s with Anson Carter they made the playoffs. But Allison was better than I thought.
Anson Carter, those teams. Yeah, they were fine.
Yeah, they were fine. But Allison was better than I thought.
Yeah, he was.
For them, and his injuries were killer. But he put up a lot of good points. So, that's my centennial and your centennial, all time Bruins teams. Chirp 4, Mark McLaughlin signs a 1-year 2-way deal for $775,000. He turns 24 on the 26th of July. Any shot he takes a fourth line spot, and then Ian Mitchell avoids arbitration with a 1-year, one-way $775,000 deal. Is that the Clifton replacement?
So the first part, McLaughlin, I like the deal. I think he didn't have a great year last year in the AHL, so I feel like he'll probably start there again. And, maybe he can put together a little bit of a better season, a more consistent season. I think he started to come on a little bit at the end, but maybe he was unhappy that he didn't make the Bruins out of camp, because he certainly looked like he deserved it through the preseason. He was playing really well, and they sent him down anyways. And I think it was a salary cap thing, but maybe he kind of sulked there a little bit. And it hurt his development maybe. So I like that fact that he's back in the mix, and hopefully he has a really good year in the AHL, and maybe we'll get a call up at some point. As for Mitchell, I think he's probably going to be more like the sixth, seventh, eighth guy. I think
it's the Saboro of this year,
unless Shattenkirk is awful.
Right.
He's going to be the sixth. He's going to take Clifton's spot, unless he's like Anton Strawman and is just cashed. I think it's going to be Shattenkirk and, Forbort, if Forbort's still here. And then, Lindholm, Carlo, and McAvoy and Grzelcyk is what it looks like. And then you have Zaboral and Mitchell as your seventh and eighth D, one for each side. So I think that's probably what will end up happening. But, maybe there's an injury. Maybe Shattenkirk is cashed and he steps in there, but I don't think he's going to take Clifton's spot, at least right out of the gate.
Yeah. And Shattenkirk and Forbort, I don't mind that pairing as like a kind of a little bit more rugged pairing there. We talked about this with the, the need for a little more physicality in the defensive core. especially in your bottom pair.
Mhm.
We talked about Ferentz and McQuaid and what they did in 11 for them, and I think they need to go back to that.
Yeah.
And they have too many kind of puck movers. They fell in love with that a little bit, and I think they need to get away from it, at least in the bottom pair. And I think Shattenkirk and Forbort hopefully will provide some defense, some physicality, a little bit of assholery. Just a little bit more of that. Chirp 5, former Bruin Nick Folino says Game 7 benching will never sit well with him. During his recent appearance on the Cam and Strick podcast, was this warranted?
Yeah, it was. I mean, he was playing pretty well coming down the stretch. But it was a numbers game, and I don't fault the management for taking him out of the lineup. I mean, it was in our eyes, or in my eyes anyways, it was between him and Frederick had a really good year too. So I think Frederick stays in. Frederick's younger. Maybe in Game 7 you want the experience. That could be a second guess. But if I'm Folino, yeah, I'm pissed. I'm a veteran. I'm a captain. I've been through the playoffs. I've been through the wars. And you're a competitor. So I don't want a guy who's saying, no, I'm really happy they didn't play. I really enjoy the popcorn on the ninth floor. They got good snacks up there.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with the way he reacted to it, because if I had a guy on my team, that's the way I'd want him to react to it. Because he's a professional and a competitor, and the type of guy you want on your team. So I don't really have any problem with what he did or how he handled himself there.
Yeah, I don't either. And he came back from a brutal year the year before. He performed pretty well. He got hurt a little bit late in the year. And like you said, it just came down to who they decided. I don't think they lost because Nick Folino wasn't in there. Like, I wouldn't really second guess that as a reason why they lost. I think they lost the friggin' thing in Game 5. To be honest with you, they gained momentum right back, shuffled up the lines. Bergeron came back. He wasn't ready. And that was the downfall, to be honest. And then the goalies got all fucked up again. Like, it was like last year with the goalies, and this guy's a little dinged up, and this, it was like Rask all over again, playing with a dinged up hip. Like, it was just kind of a mess the last 3 games. And I don't mind Nick Folino saying that. I mean, he's a veteran, like you said, and he's a gamer, and he wants to be there. He was a big leader in the room, as they say. So, I guess, good, it's good for him that he's still in the league, and hopefully with Chicago, he can, he's making $4 million.
Yeah,
I mean, what a country. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, are you, and then I thought, well, they get into the cap floor and all that, but holy Christ, give somebody else $4 million. Like, give like a 30-year-old $4 million.
Maybe that's the leadership, they want to teach. Yeah. Bedard and some of those young guys, the right way to do things and so forth. And you got to pay for leadership, I guess.
Yeah, yes. I guess.
Wow.
I guess Chicago, though, has some, they have some deep rooted issues there. They need a cleansing of character. So they need to go in that direction for sure.
No doubt.
Chirp 6, Trent Frederick and Jeremy Swayman each file for arbitration. Any chance either of these get to arbitration? And the Boquist signing happens, and people are questioning if that has anything to do with Frederick's status.
That's interesting, because I think, that's a possibility. I mean, maybe Frederick's looking for more than the Bruins can afford or can offer. I mean, he is coming off a career year, so he's probably looking for more than they're willing to spend. I think maybe Dominic Tiano or somebody else put out there a pretty good list of all the guys right around Frederick's career point totals and their contracts they're on, and they're all under $2 million a year. So Frederick, if he's looking for north of $2 million, maybe the Bruins are looking to, maybe move on, and maybe that had something to do with the Boquist signing, or maybe it has something to do with the fact that Bergeron's not coming back and they need center depth. Either one of those options I'm not particularly fond of.
No.
With Boquist being the center depth that replaces Patrice Bergeron, it won't be him that replaces Bergeron, but that center depth is,
it could be geeky. It could be,
it will be, geeky or Coyle or Maka, some combination of that.
Yeah.
Really, that replaces him. But I I'm not sure really that you want either of those cases to get to arbitration, because usually that ends badly for both the team and the player. The team is basically saying you're not worth what you want to be paid, and the player's saying I should be paid this much because I've been doing all this stuff. And then whoever wins and loses, the other one is mad about it because the other one won and the other one lost. So going to arbitration and actually hearing the number is never good for either side. So hopefully these get settled prior to that. But it is something to to be aware of and to be looking at to see what happens maybe with Frederick if he gets awarded more than the Bruins are looking to spend.
Yeah, July 30 for Swayman and August 1st for Freddie. So a couple of weeks out now, and we'll see if there's any movement at all on either one of those players. And then chirp number 7, Bruce Cassidy on the Greg Hill Show says that he doesn't blame the veterans on the Bruins for not sticking up for him before getting fired. Takes the high road. Could the vets such as Bergeron have saved him?
It's a possibility that they could have saved him, but I really don't think at that point in time that was the right thing to do. Like we all agreed that at the time that we wouldn't have fired Cassidy. Like you and I both said we wouldn't have done it. But the message seemed to be getting stale with the number of guys. So if there was, one or two guys in the leadership core that, are still, buying in and are on brand, that doesn't do anything for you. That doesn't do anything for the team. You need everybody to buy in. So if they're missing more than half the team, you have to make a change. And guys' messages run stale after a certain amount of time. And that's what happened with the Bruins. It was time for Cassidy to move on. He went to the perfect spot at a great location with a great team and a committed ownership group. And got Eichel to buy in to the system and play a 200-foot game. And Mark Stone plays a great 200-foot game. They have a lot of talented guys, Peter Angelo and Marchessault, and so he kind of went into a good situation and then found the hot goaltender and rode it to a Stanley Cup. So great for Cassidy, but I really don't think that the Bruins veterans really could have saved him here.
Yeah, I don't think so. And the Bruins said there's just too many guys that are unhappy, and they wanted to keep the players. And we've seen with Don Sweeney, he's not someone who wants to get away from this core. He's going to wring every ounce of moisture from this core. Like, it's insane. Like, even Hall goes before anybody else in the core. Like, he's going to take he didn't want to trade Grzelcyk. He doesn't like to make risky moves. He doesn't like to make moves that are risk reward, that could fail. Like, he is very cautious in that way. Now, whether that is detrimental or is working or whatever, that's up for debate. I'd like to see him take a little bit more risk. I would have liked to see him be a little more creative this offseason, and create a little more space and maybe get another good player. But maybe I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and think that there's a plan for next offseason. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. If next offseason comes and there's still not a lot of really great high-end moves or a lot of creativity, then I'll blast them. Like, it's what are we doing? Like, it's just sucking the life out of this core right now. And alas, we still wait for Bergeron and Krejci to make a decision. Like, it's just, can we just get it going? Can we move on? Or Bergeron, decide you're staying, but just make a decision. All right, DraftKings Sportsbook, Boston's hometown sportsbook, is live right here in Massachusetts. Bet local on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home with DraftKings. To celebrate, all new customers will receive up to $200 in bonus bets when you sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook using a code ITR. You can now bet local on moneyline, spreads, props, and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbooks. That's DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up with the code ITR to get up to $200 in bonus bets to use now that mobile sports betting is live in Massachusetts. That's code ITR only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
If you or a loved one is experiencing problems with gambling, call 800-327-5050 or visit helplinema.org to speak with a trained specialist free and confidentially 24/7. 21 plus, physically present in Mass. Eligibility restrictions apply. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as free bets. Terms at DraftKings.com/MA.
All right, time for Benders in the News. We talk about some benders outside of the world of hockey. We need a sponsor for this
We do.
wonderful thing. Here's one. I chopped off my finger. Now I'm removing skin to look like an alien.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. New procedure in mind to enhance his alien devil look. Marcelo B-Boy, in quotations, D'Souza Ribeiro, 40 years old, 40, not like 20, 40, who has been dubbed the most modified man in the world, has decided to remove the excess skin and muscle from his hands. Just remove it.
The excess, there's no excess skin on your
not on your hands.
It covers your hands.
No, that's necessary.
That's not that's not extra. There's no extra skin on your hands. Yeah. You want to take a little extra skin, you can take a little of this off me.
Yeah, the gullet, the
gullet,
the fucking gobbler.
You take a little of the turkey gobbler off Smitty. You take a little of that. I'm getting up there and
shave that right off.
Take a little of that, but not off my hands.
No,
hands as they are. Thank you very much. No. And he chopped his own finger off too.
Yeah,
money lot.
Ribeiro is also covered in nearly 1,500 tattoos. Imagine how much money that costs. 1,500 tattoos. And he said he began the process in February by removing excess oil and fat from the sides of his left hand in a bid to make it slimmer. Yeah. Muscle and skin removed.
He's just doing a little liposuction from the hands on his own.
On his own.
Yeah. Do you think all those tattoos were done in a tattoo parlor? I don't.
I don't think so.
Over the sterilized needle? I don't know.
I think you're doing do-it-yourself tattoos.
He was just jabbing himself with like a pen.
Yeah, that's do-it-yourself. He spent roughly $36,945 on the transformation over the years. That's not including the tattoos. Can you imagine the money? What does this guy do for a living? Like,
does he work at the circus?
Yeah, I don't know. Go on a trip somewhere.
As like with the bearded lady and the I don't know, the traffic people.
The alien man.
Yeah,
and the bearded lady.
He works he's like at a carnival.
Yeah, what a pair.
Oh my God.
Hey, a TikTok video purporting to show a DoorDash driver in Texas swearing at a customer over a $5 tip she gave him went viral. So a $5 tip, is it acceptable for a $20 pizza? You got $5 and he was pissed.
For a $20 pizza?
$20 pizza, $20 tab, $5 tip. That's pretty good.
That's 25%, is it not?
Yeah, it is. That's an excellent math by you on the fly. I was a DoorDash driver for a year or so, and I would be over the moon with a $5 tip for a $20 tab at Domino's or whatever hell.
Okay, so the only question is this: did he pick the pizza up in like Providence and have to drive it to Boston?
Well, that could, he's in Texas, so I hope he didn't drive it to Boston.
Or like pick it up in Dallas and have to drive it to San Antonio. Yeah, because that's worth more than $5.
That is worth more. It shows it's
worth more driver as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he's swearing at a customer over a $5 tip she gave him.
It's probably made up. Most of that shit's made up.
It has to be. He told her, he said, F you. And, and he was unhappy. I'll tell you what, we talked about this the Gen Zers, this is their generation. They just expect the moon and all the other planets at once. Hey, candy fans are shocked over the meaning of Twix. We talked about the meaning of spam. There's a meaning for a Twix.
I love Twix.
Yeah, Twix is one of the really good ones out
Twix
there.
Is one of my favorite candy bars, no doubt.
Yeah, it's
I
what
love
do you
it.
think? What do you think Twix stands for?
I could not tell you. Twin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, twin.
Twin.
What are they?
Icicles. I don't know.
Twin sticks.
Twin sticks.
Twin sticks.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense.
Twin sticks. Yeah,
That makes sense.
Twix is up there. I actually asked my basketball team what their favorite candy bar is between drills the other day.
Yeah.
And I had several Snickers. And I had one kid said 100 grand, which he immediately is getting more playing time.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, because 100 grand is like one of my absolute all-time favorites. But Twix and Kit Kat, Reese's Cups, I'm kind of a, Milky Way. I'm kind of a, just your normal solid candy bars. Whatchamacallits are good.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I'm a sweets guy, so I like all that stuff. To me, though, Milky Way is down the list. Like, that's a waste of time. Like, just Milky Way is a waste.
Nugget and caramel.
No, I mean, fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, if there's no.
You must hate the Three Musketeers then, because that's just nugget.
If there's, I'll eat it. Don't get me wrong. I like sweets. So I'll eat it.
Yeah.
I'll eat a Milky Way. I'll eat a Three Musketeers. But like, that's a waste of time. Like, what are you doing with that? Get a Snickers. Like, that's like, if all the Snickers are eaten, then you grab those.
Yeah. Yeah. You wait and you grab that right before you grab the Hershey bar, because that's, just chocolate.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I'm a Twix guy, though. I love Twix. Twix
is good. Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Give me the Twix for sure. Hey, 1 in 22 people is a psychopath, and here's how you can spot them.
Okay.
So 1 in 22 people are a psychopath. Can you believe that?
I mean, that's
if like I have 830 Facebook friends.
Yeah.
So 1 in 22 of those people is a psychopath.
Yeah, I think that checks out.
Well, that does probably check out, and I could probably rattle them off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about my homeroom from high school. Yeah, I think that checks out. There was there was probably at least one person in there that was an absolute nut job. Sure. Yep.
Yeah, absolute nut job for sure.
Mm-hmm. And if you can't spot the psychopath, it's you.
It's you. Yeah, it's like the narcissist. If you can't spot the narcissist, you're the narcissist.
Yeah,
without a doubt. Yeah, there's different. It starts in childhood. They say cruelty to the animals, refusal to obey, lack of empathy, spiteful and aggressive behavior, lying, lower self-esteem, learning difficulties, suicidal tendencies. A lot of people who are woe is me a lot. That type of thing. Like, you're always hearing, like, again, everybody's against me. The world sucks. That type of thing. And it's insufferable. And it seems to me that there's more and more people like that. Like, it's just unbelievable to me. But social media brings them all out.
They do.
And that's the other thing.
Sure.
And lastly, I removed my nose and nipples. Now I'm harassed in the streets. This guy removed it. Here's what I don't understand. You're taking the fucking shit out of you're taking the skin off you, and you're taking the oils out of your fucking veins and all that. Like, and now you're doing this. Like, I don't get what is wrong with people.
Is that
what is wrong with you?
Is this guy related to the other guy? Are they like brothers?
Boy, he should be.
You know what they should be identical hand twins. That's what they should.
Yeah, they should be. They should be. Over the last 11 years, this 32-year-old Californian has spent $8,000 on body modifications, including ribbed genital implants, an intentionally branded chest, and ink everywhere from his ribs to his eyeballs.
What?
And he's tattooed his own chest, his own eyes, his gums.
His own eyes?
His own eyes and gums. Yeah, his own eyes. Yeah. He has
I don't even want
above his eyelids there. Yeah.
Never mind a needle.
Oh my God.
Fuck me.
Yeah. Yeah.
People, I mean, whatever. I mean, whatever. He's probably a nice fellow. And
I know. I mean, this is what my father would say. How do you get a job? Like, how do you go to an interview with your nose cut off? And did you cut your nose off to spite your face?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
you
they might
just
have.
walk into Hannaford and you're like, "Hey, I heard you had a job available," and they're like, "Where's your nose? What happened to that?"
What happened to
Yeah.
your nose?
Are you using this job to pay for your 1,500 tattoos? Like, for the love
I
of
mean,
God.
I don't think you can hire him at Hannaford, can you?
No.
It's like scaring the customers. Like a
You know,
little,
it used to,
can you imagine a little old lady goes around the corner and she's looking for
Yeah.
a can of, corn or beans or something,
Right.
and there's
Yeah.
this guy stocking the shelves. She'd probably have a heart attack and die right there in aisle 3. Dead.
when we were at the grocery store, didn't they have to cut the guys cover up the earrings? Remember that?
Yeah.
They had to like put tape on the earrings.
Yeah, Band-Aid or something. Yeah.
Yeah, Band-Aid. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because you couldn't have an earring in. So if you forgot it, you had to you had to wear, you had to have your hair a certain way. And
This guy would have an ace bandage over his entire face.
oh, right. I mean, you
He looked
couldn't.
like a mummy, mummified person just walking around with just eye holes peering out at you. And who knows? And who knows? Maybe the top of his eyelids say, "I'll kill you."
Right.
Fuck
Right.
off or something.
Right.
And he's just blinking at you and like swearing at you. And it's just, wow. It's
Oh
a
my
scene.
God. Yeah. Do you want paper or plastic? I got, like, well, your knuckles say "fuck off." Like, I don't know. I don't know what I want.
I don't know if I want you back in my groceries. You don't have any skin on your hands.
No.
So,
Yeah.
So I don't know if I want any blood on my, on my on my apples. Thanks.
No. I'll tell you what. The benders in the news, it writes itself. Like, it's just, I have to weed out a few. Like, I got 15 people, and I weeded them out. Took the best of the rest. All right, go to InsideTheRink.com for Bruins Benders merchandise. Follow us at Bruins Benders on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Subscribe to the Inside the Rink YouTube page and watch our episodes on YouTube. Rate and review on Apple, and subscribe and follow on all the podcast platforms. Special thanks to Robert Chalmers for being a guest and talking prospect talk with us. And we will see everybody again next week. Thanks a lot for listening. Go Bruins.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Black Betty,